If you already use Obsidian, there's a big chance that you already know something about YAML. YAML is simply a user-friendly way of adding metadata to our Obsidian nodes. Today's video is fully dedicated to how to use YAML correctly in our Obsidian nodes. If you are very curious about one of the most popular Obsidian plugin, DataView, then you must be more inspired to learn YAML, because YAML will help us take full advantage of DataView. So metadata is just a bunch of data that describes and gives some information about some other data, which could be a file, could be an image, but not the content of the data. Almost every digital file we can find nowadays has some sort of metadata. For instance, if you are taking a picture with your camera or with your phone, you will have a bunch of metadata created automatically. The size of the image, the pixel resolution, the file type, file name. That's the data which is automatically created, but we can also create our own metadata. Especially for our Obsidian nodes, we can officially create our own metadata through YAML. Of course, YAML is not the only option to create metadata for our Obsidian nodes, but YAML is a much cleaner way and also much powerful way of adding metadata to our files. Now let's bring the metadata concept to our Obsidian nodes. Let's say we type out a book note here on Obsidian. Some examples of metadata would be the book, the cover, the author, the category, or maybe some other text. Suppose we also add something called aliases metadata to this current file using YAML block. The alias is like a unique name attached to same file, so we can quickly search the file based on this metadata. Another big benefit of creating metadata is we can easily understand the key properties of the file we are reading now by only looking at the metadata. We don't necessarily have to read through the whole node to understand the key points. For instance, this current node has an associated project which I'm been working on currently, and also some highlights from this node as well. It's very flexible. It's not limited to text or alias. You can add any metadata you want. Now we have seen the power of metadata to our nodes. Let's jump into the topic about how to create a valid YAML block step by step. Let's first understand what is YAML. According to this official documentation, YAML, also known as format, is designed to be a file-level metadata that is both readable by humans and Obsidian. The so-called file-level metadata, it simply means we cannot use the metadata across files. So have this out of our way. Let's read the documentation for the definition of a valid YAML block. According to this documentation, in order to create a valid YAML block, the first requirement is a YAML block needs triple dashes at the start and the end to be read by Obsidian and other apps. The second requirement is it also needs to be placed at the very top of the file. So now let's see all of this in action. Okay, now we just come back to Obsidian application. Let's try to first understand and create a valid YAML in our Obsidian node. For this demo, I just create a blank node with only a title and nothing else. So far, we have no two requirements for a valid YAML block. The first one is we have to write 3 dashes from the start and also the end. And everything else create metadata using our YAML. Everything is inside this pair of 3 dashes. Excellent metadata is simply a key value pair. So we give a key name called first is give text, and text books or something else. And probably we give some another like aliases, some other name, something like this. Alias, another name to attach the same file. The current file name is called use YAML currently in Obsidian, and then we can give some other random name. Now, if you want to see the YAML format clearly visually, we can toggle on the preview mode. Click this one, this button here, or you can use the shortcut like Command E. Now we can see the beautiful YAML appearance. It has the metadata, aliases, and also the text. And you also notice, if we go back to our code, you also notice in our tag, we only write we didn't give the hash, but Obsidian automatically picked up the value we attached to text as a tag. Actually, Obsidian provided a nice way to visualize the YAML in a more beautiful way. We can go to the settings. Under the options, there's an editor. We can just toggle on show format. We want to see the format as a code block. Now you see, automatically changes, become more beautiful. You have the key, have different highlight, different key values. We have quickly create a valid YAML code. It doesn't seem very hard. The second requirement is we make sure this block is always the first thing for this current file. We shouldn't add some other stuff like here, and then this one is not recognized as YAML block by Obsidian. But we can type anything about the current node below this block. So this block is always the first thing for this current node. Okay. YAML is very user-friendly and also easy to read, easy to write, but sometimes it gets picky with how we type it out, the YAML code. We already learned the 2 requirements for a valid YAML, but actually there's another one, also another crucial aspect for a valid YAML, which is the spacing. For instance, in any key value pair, there's a space. I leave it here intentionally. If I remove this space, turn on the preview mode, and then now it will show us the invalid YAML. So then we have to give a space. You can give one or two, you can give many space, but at least there's at least one space. We go back to our preview mode, and now it's valid. So it means if we don't have a space between the colon and the beginning of the metadata values, Obsidian will tell us it's not a valid YAML code. So you can think of it as a very good feature from Obsidian, because once we are told we are not writing a correct YAML code, and then we will immediately fixed to avoid any possibility of going to a rabbit hole to try to figure out what's going on with the metadata I just created, why the metadata doesn't work. Of course, you can have multiple values for the multiple tags for this one and multiple aliases for this one. Actually, there's 2 ways. First, you can write the both and also give a comma and give some like other productivity. And then if we go back to the preview mode, and then now we have 2 tags. Okay, or you can give a square brackets, easy to read. When we read the square brackets, we will quickly understand everything inside this is multiple tags, aliases. You can write a different name and here and another name. The same. Another way to write a multiple text, we can do like this. Give a space and have a dash and make sure between dash and the beginning of the word there's also a space. We don't need the comma here, and then we can do like this, and also we don't need this here, and it's the same. So we get the same value. So it's up to you. Like you can write something like this, or you can write with the square brackets. Now we just focus on how to create a valid YAML block in our Obsidian node. First, we have to make sure we have 3 dashes at the beginning, at the start, and as well as the end of the YAML code block. We also make sure the YAML code block is always at the top of the file. There's nothing before this YAML block. The third requirement is we should always make sure there's a space between the colon and the rest of the value. You can easily know whether you are writing a valid YAML or not, just going to the preview mode to make sure everything is correct before using the metadata you just created. So as I mentioned, it's really great, it's really nice to be noticed whether we are writing a valid YAML or not, because in this way we are not writing some invalid YAML YAML without any awareness. Because without this feature, if we just finish our YAML file like this and have no idea whether it's a valid YAML or not, we think everything is correct. When we make this tiny mistake, especially we've got to add the space between this colon and the value. And then now we start to use the alias. For instance, I create an alias called some other name, and then I try to use this alias like some other name, and then I couldn't search it. I have no idea what's going on. Maybe I will blame the Obsidian for the mistake. Maybe it's some bug with Obsidian app, or probably it's because of the delay. When I finish the YAML block, I need to wait for some time to allow it to take effect. So we were just wondering, and sometimes we have no idea what's the root cause. But if we have this feature, we immediately know, oh, it's not a valid YAML, and then we just go back to our YAML code. And because we only have 3 requirements for the valid YAML, we just check out 3 dashes we have, and then we put this YAML block at the top of the file. Yes. Is there some missing spaces? Okay, let's check out. Yes, I have some. And then I can quickly figure out what's the problem, and then okay. And after this, we can use this some other name, see? And then I can use the metadata I just created. This alias is attached to the current file with this name. Or you can search this current file, like we can search this use YAML. This is the title for this YAML, but we can call some other name. And as you can see, this is the same file, but with a different name. This is the alias we just created. And also you notice when we have our cursor over here, it tells us it's alias. You click this one and we come back to this one. We just briefly showcased the metadata for text and aliases. As a matter of fact, according to the Obsidian official documentation, currently Obsidian only supports these 4 keys, like the text, aliases, CSS class, and publish. We just touched text and aliases. In this part, I want to focus more of the details, how to create metadata for text and aliases, also how to use them in our Obsidian nodes. Let's first start with the aliases. Let's delete all of this. In order to create aliases, a different name to attach this current file, we can have one name, just one different name like this is a demo, another name, and only for this file. Or we can create multiple names with a square brackets and separate with a comma and have a space. This is another demo name, something like this. And we can do like this. If we go back to the preview mode, we can see there's 2 aliases. This is a demo, this is another demo. We have 2 different names. And the interesting part, although we have multiple aliases, we can, for the key value, we can just write a single noun instead of a plural. So it's the same result. And in the metadata, it picks up as aliases instead of alias. Although we give the name called alias, you can type like this, and also you can uppercase the first letter. It's the same. So you can write it like this, or you can give a plural like this. Same result. So that matter, just up to you. For me, I personally like that with the lowercase and also plural because I have multiple names. Besides this way, with square brackets, we could also give us a dash within a space, or you can not a dash, just give some name like this is alias 1, and this is 2. We can try out without this dash, whether it's working or not. Let's just go back, and then we have this. It reads as one name instead of multiple names. Give some single, you give a dash and make sure there's a space. And also this one, we also give a dash, make sure there's a space if without a space. And that is a valid YAML. So we need to make a space and here. And now we have 2 aliases for this current node. Now, how to use these aliases? What's the benefits of creating these aliases? Normally, when we want to search a file inside Obsidian, we can use the shortcut is Command O. We type the file name, right? And the current file name is this is the file we want to search. And then we can use the title name absolutely correct. Better give a more meaningful name. So we change something like create a valid YAML, something like this. And then we have this name. When we want to search a file, we can create a valid YAML, and then boom, we can quickly search this file. Just give a specific example. If we have an Obsidian note, we have a title, and this title is formatted for publishing or for other purpose. But sometimes we also want to have a different name, like a shorter name, but with keywords for this name. A little bit shorter, but with some key message. And then if we want to search this file, we can quickly use a key message or valid YAML because currently we will try to create a valid YAML, right? We were talking about how to create a valid YAML. This is the key message for our current video. So we can give this name. Time for the internal link. If we want to link this file, then I open another file just for demonstration, like for instance this one, just another different file. And we can just for testing. Okay, over here I want to link this file to this file. I could do something like this, this is the file name for this file. If I go to create a valid YAML, it's also the same. But Obsidian is very smart. It keeps the title, this file, the title name here, as well as the alias name over here. Kind of two names for the same file. This is something you probably needed in some cases. Okay, now let's move on to the text. Before we create the metadata for the text, let's first make sure we have this text panel. If you don't see the text on your right sidebar, you can simply turn on by going to the settings. And let's go to the core plugins. Inside this, we just search the text. And then you just toggle on this one. If I turn off, we couldn't see the text over here. Have this set up. Let's move on to create metadata for the text. Similar to aliases, we can write like this, like just tag, and give something like a book. We write like this. Obsidian will automatically pick it up, although we give the name called a tag, but it will recognize as a text. So we can also add an S over here. Also, we can give the like this, and that is same. So it's up to you. I just created one tag for this book for good demonstration. Like over here, I already have so many tags created before, but I want to demonstrate create a new tag called Apple. You can look at this carefully when I type like Apple demo, like something like this. And then it will show up here. It will show up here. So we just create a new tag name called app demo over here, and we show up here. If we remove it, and then you also remove it. If we have like this tag name like in here as well. Besides YAML, we can create a tag. Inside our nodes, we give a hash and the name of this tag. And then we also see the tag name over here. Although we didn't create from our YAML file. If we delete this one, and then it also disappear from here. In order to create a multiple tag, we could give a square brackets, and inside this we can have a tag 1 and tag 2. We can have this multiple text name. Or we could go out here, this item like this, like tag 1 and tag name 2. And even we can, actually we could create a nested tag. For a good demonstration, like Apple demo, give a forward slash and like Apple demo or channel tags, just any name. And then we will show up here. For my daily work, I create one tag for content, and inside this content, I have a blogger or have other things. Up to now, everything is fine. We can create a single tag or multiple tags or nested tags. But there's one thing bothering me. I want to reuse some tags I already created in my tag system. Give a quote, and give a space. Make sure we have a space and the hash Now we have the auto completion. I want to have some content for the video, and I just have video to check out some tag I can use. I realize, oh, I have the content video. I also have the category for productivity, and then I could simply maybe I just reuse this one instead of create something new one for the category. And in this case, it's about Obsidian, but I'm not sure whether do I have some relevant tag I can use. I just type something like Obsidian, and then I just find out I already created Obsidian before, so maybe I can simply use this one. So this autocomplete is very useful. Make sure we have space over here. If we don't have space, leave out. Now we have the tags. The first one is the nested tag. We have content block, and also another tag is called code. Although according to the documentation, Obsidian currently only supports text, aliases, and CSS class, and publish. We are allowed to find whatever metadata we want in YAML. Give you a quick example, a new metadata called project. Because I want to associate this current node with one of my project I'm working on, and then do like this one. This is the project I'm working on, the project name. We just insert a backlink to this node. So we can easily go up here, we can check out, we have this backlink to this current node. When we talk on the preview mode, Obsidian only recognizes the text and the metadata, but not the project. But it doesn't stop us from defining our own metadata. The Obsidian Data View plugin can leverage the metadata we created for our node. I created some metadata for my book note. Beside this metadata, I have author for this book. I have year, the cover, category, everything. I also have other book note. First is show your work. I have this one with the same metadata. I also have the metadata for this one, and maybe just give you a quick example. I have created this metadata for all of these book notes. This is the code for the data view. I want to fill out some files about book notes with the text metadata like author, year, cover, category, status. And then inside this table, I can literally see clearly the author, year, cover, category, everything is over here. And all of this metadata actually is created inside this YAML block by us. Although they are not picked up by Obsidian, like here, we only see one type of metadata aliases are picked up by Obsidian, but Obsidian doesn't recognize all the other metadata we created, but it doesn't matter. We can still use this metadata inside the data view. Obsidian doesn't natively support this metadata, but we can make a good use of this metadata. Data view plugin is a good example. Finally, let's sum up two huge benefits of using YAML. The first one is make our code look much cleaner. Personally think it's much easier for us to have the metadata defined in one place inside the YAML block, because the YAML block has to be placed at the top of the file, so it helps us a lot in terms of searching for the metadata we have created for the current node. We can easily track the metadata we created for this node, as well as make changes to the metadata all in one place in YAML block, instead of going through the whole node to find the metadata and then make some changes. The second one is we could also easily create our own metadata for our purpose. Although Obsidian only supports like text, alias, CSS class, publish, it doesn't prevent us from defining our metadata. And one of the most popular and powerful Obsidian plugin, Data View, actually relies on the metadata we created for our node. Understand how to create a valid YAML is also a prerequisite for our next video about using Data View in Obsidian, how to make our life better with the Data View plugin. So, okay, see you there.